so we are still on time. I don't know how that's possible, but we did it. Congrats. So first thing is, I want to talk a little bit about the overview. So we're breaking down this summit into plenary sessions. And so the plan is not to talk at people for 45 minutes. That's not the plan. We have some short presentations that we'd like to give to offer some training and some insights on the way we see things. There may be a help partner or two that comes up and joins on the stage for some Q&A. So there will be an opportunity for that. And then there will be opportunity for just some networking and working sessions in your groups. So if there's something, we wanted to create some time so that if you heard something in the presentation that sparked something, or heard something in the Q&A that sparked something else, y'all would have time as a team to just sit down and talk about that immediately and see if there's things that could be implemented in the near term or the long term. So that's how it's broken down. Short presentation, a little bit of Q&A, perhaps even a panel, and then some time for working sessions, and then we'll break, and there'll be time for the next plenary. So that's how the overview is going to go. And then you'll see me up here from time to time, but mostly it's going to be other folks leading the presentations. I won't be talking to you all day. So thanks everyone, and what we'll do is we'll start with Yesenia. I'm going to go ahead and start coming up. I've got you prepared up here. And the first thing that we're going to talk about this morning is how to recruit, build, and leverage a mentorship network.
Looked like he was going to spray me down or something. I showered.
Woo, Yesy.
Yep. Okay. So, with your apologies, I'm going to sit. Sorry about this. My body decided not to work this morning. Okay. So, who here likes mentors? Who here needs more mentors? Yeah. All right, so let's talk about how to recruit, build, and leverage your mentorship network. And just one thing for sure, when you're my age and you need reading glasses, go with a confidence monitor, please, because they're a lot larger there than they are here, the letters and the font and all that. So let's talk a little bit about what we've done here and what you can do at each of your facilities and institutions. And let's talk about some best practices that we have built. And it's not because we're insanely smart or insanely intuitive about this, but because we have researched it, we have looked at it out. We've also had a little bit of trial and error on what doesn't work. And so we want to go through what really is a good mentorship network, looking at the holistic notion of what mentorship can be for all of your teams. Now, if you belong to the Mid-South Hub, you know that we have a couple of principles that we ride or die by, right? And that is inclusive innovation, and that is diversity of idea, and that is diversity of innovation, and that is diversity of technology and diversity of entrepreneurs. So when we talk about mentorship, if everyone in your mentorship program is 60 plus retired and they're all engineers, albeit they are amazing human beings, I'm going to challenge you on it that is not a good mentorship program. And the reason for that is that if everyone in your mentorship program is not currently engaged in the phygital revolution right now, in the current day-to-day activity across all the possible innovations that you see, across all the possible needs that any one of your ventures is going to need at any given moment, you do not have a robust mentorship network. So these are examples of just our university and our Wond'ry, right? We see over 600, I stopped updating this number, quite honestly, because last year, I think we had 6,500 individuals file through the Wond'ry. So we see upwards of 600 new ideas each year. And we have seen ideas that relate from nuclear technology, medical devices, fashion innovation, system mapping, well, you can read it, right? And everything in between. Not all of it will be I-Core related, but all of it relates to inclusive innovation. And so when you look at what a mentorship program could be and should be, it means you need to be ready to address their needs in the moment. And that means that for I-Corps, you're going to need that industry mentor. But to get them ready for I-Corps, you may need a little bit of everything. And that could start with just instilling their creative confidence. It could be that you have someone who's going to go through I-Corps from an underrepresented community who's never been listened to before, who's never really gotten the time of day from the people who can really move the needle for them. And so there could be sessions where they just need 30 minutes to an hour from someone who looks like them, who's made it, who's achieved, who can give them that robust talk that says, I can pursue this. And those teams then can get ready for the industry mentor that's going to make I-Corps happen. And so I challenge you to build these networks of entrepreneurs and executives and creatives and forward thinkers who are eager to share their time and talent, experience, and insights with your ecosystem. And sometimes you need folks for just a short moment to get your team through an idea or part of their solution that they're not experts at. So if you're working with faculty or if you're working with a team that's deeply involved in IP on something that they're an expert on, they're not going to need that expert team out of your mentor. They've got that. But you know what they may not have is, how on earth do we explain this in layman's terms? How on earth do we represent this graphically? Graphic designers are awesome, right? How on earth do I maybe create a prototype that represents this? Or how do I creatively describe something, create something? So remember that there are different needs for your teams at different moments, and then there are industry mentors that you'll need for your teams, that it's not as easy as saying, oh, I just connect you to someone who's exactly like you that's just gonna sign on to this. And everyone knows that industry mentors are hard to engage. We know that too. Ask Mark, he was asleep. So if you're going to have an industry mentor for every team you put through, think of having, I'd say, an exponent of 7. You need 7 potential people who could be industry mentors to get one that will commit. The other thing that we look at is your ultimate goal for your program, and you can read it here, is you need innovators and change makers. And they're the ones that are going to help your teams understand if it's time to pivot, if it's time to move forward, or if it's time to let go. And those are really, really important. They're out there. It takes a little bit of time. So if you have a diversity of program, if you have a diversity of founders, if you have a diversity of innovators, if you have a diversity of ideas, that means you need a diversity of mentors. And I really challenge folks to say, those mentors need to be actively engaged in today's innovations. And so you need a lot of them, because they can't give you all of their time, because then they're not actively engaged in their job. Okay, so the way we look at mentors and the way we map who they are for you and for us. They are consultants and coaches, but they need to embody radical candor. If you know me, you know I'm big on this. Of our 204 mentors, I have interviewed all of them personally, either on Zoom or in person, face-to-face. They have to embody radical candor. Why? Because the conversations they're going to have with your teams have to be very serious conversations. People forget, and even though I'm entertained by Shark Tank, let me tell you how much I hate that show. First of all, it's slightly scripted. Second of all, people get torn down on that show all the time, and these experts like Vandy about all this nonsense. Radical candor is really important. I take it very seriously because there's 2 things that are true for any innovator that you're going to encounter. One is they're humans. Their validity is never in question. Second is that they are not their idea. The validity of an idea is always in question. You must separate the 2. And so if we have mentors that understand that, they can have a conversation with the mentee that says, you are always valid. Your idea, we need to put it through an evidence-based process, right? That's radical candor. That empathy for saying, I'm going to use the right words, the respectful words. I'm never going to use smart, dumb, ugly, pretty, stupid, smart. I'm going to say, where's the evidence? How might we? How might you? I'm going to use all the right words that never challenge you as a human being, but challenge how you achieved the spot where you're at with your idea. And so I'm going to embrace specificity and I'm going to spotlight evidence. That's what we want in a mentor. And it's hard because sometimes people will say, I want to be a mentor for you. Maybe they're an alumni. Maybe they're a very successful person in your ecosystem. I'm telling you, in 30 minutes, usually less, you know who's going to come in and wants to just be the Shark Tank in your program and wants to say, I know everything, and will probably debilitate some of your teams or will talk down to your teams. The other thing that's important that's not mapped up here, but it's sort of part of that consultant coach. How many people here have seen a sporting event? All of you, right? How many people here in a sporting event, somebody yell out their favorite sport?
Hockey.
Okay, hockey. All right, so, hockey coach. When have you ever seen a hockey coach throw on a pair of skates, jump into the ice rink, and take a hockey stick and finish the game for their hockey players? Never. So, your mentor is not supposed to do the work. It's not supposed to take over the team. It's not supposed to take over the idea. I warn you that there are people who say they want to mentor, who want to do that for teams. That's not mentorship. All right, so vetting and process are critical. I have been possibly criticized for this, and some people think I'm really tough. I promise I'm really sweet. I always smile, but I take this very seriously. In-person or Zoom interview required. You have to look at their face, you need to look at their body language, you need to look at all of the things they're not telling you. They have to be open, the body language has to be open because, I don't know about you, but I feel like you are very busy. How many of you sit down on every mentor interaction with your teams? Shocking. No, we don't. We don't have time for that. So you are actually entrusting that when you build your mentorship network, that these folks are sitting with your teams without you present. You're putting a lot on the line with your programs, your reputation, and what you've built to entrust these people to have access to your teams and your participants. So you have to know how they will interact with them, how they will engage with them, how they will respect your mentees, right? And so vetting is required. They must submit an application that includes but is not limited to. This is important. And mind you, your general counsel at your universities will appreciate this. Confidentiality, informed consent. What is informed consent? Because you should run a background check. If you're not running a background check on your mentors, please start immediately. Please don't ever get caught with a situation in which a background check has not been done and you find out the wrong way. It's your reputation and your university's reputation. Liability waivers and professional standards of conduct. Again, you are not supervising these engagements and you're trusting that they're doing all the things that your programs represent. You're also entrusting them to represent I-Corps without your supervision. The background check, in a lot of instances, people say, well, why does it include a protection of minors? If there are any teams at your universities that include a student on campus that is engaging with a lab, that is engaging with faculty, or is in any way, shape, or form part of this I-Corps process, they're university-age college students. If some of you, and it's happened to Vanderbilt, some of these students are getting younger and younger and really, really brilliant, there might be one that's on the front end of being 17, 17 and a half, that immediately engages a minor protection act. So make sure the background check is not just a background check, but includes a Minors Protection Act. Please make sure that that's involved. The easiest way to do this is just connect with your HR department, tell them that you want to run the standard background check for anybody who works at the university. It's here in Vanderbilt, it's about $25, and they do it. It's a third party. You get a thumbs up. In our case, literally, a green thumbs up or a thumbs down. And here's another hint. If you're introducing someone who could be a potential mentor and you explain this process and they balk at it, or they say, well, I don't know about that, you don't want them as a mentor. That's a red flag. There has to be an onboarding, materials, some sort of workshop, some sort of explanation. I do this with them. I send them an onboarding presentation. I work out all of their questions. Now, here's the one thing that I learned. You can't possibly workshop everything that they will ever do for you. So I changed the way I onboarded them. And what I did was say to them, here's a basic, but then anytime you agree to do anything with us, every instance, you're going to have a small onboarding with whoever's leading that program. For example, I-Corps, Mark, I'm going to throw you under the bus in a good way. Mark created this really great document for what it means to be an industry mentor for ICOR. And so if you say you're interested in being an industry like ICOR, in fact, before you say you're interested, I send this document to people that I'm asking to be an industry mentor. So they know on the front end what I'm asking them to do and engaging them in this interest. If you're interested in working in any of our other programs, we have them engage with those team leads to really understand what they're doing. Because if you try to train them on everything when you onboard them, they will forget it by the time that they engage. Cool? And we'll have Q&A at the end. Roles and responsibilities. They volunteer. I don't pay them. There's a reason for that. When you start paying them, there's a relationship that gets started that is very hard to manage and very hard to sort of orchestrate. They must become powerful advocates for you, your program, and your mentees. They're your biggest cheerleaders. They need to have a long-term relationship with you. I tell mentors that they are contracted with us for 2 years and that they can have indefinite renewals. I also tell them they can take sabbaticals because they're humans, right? We reinforce program learning, meaning that anytime they want to do anything with us, they can attend a program that they're not involved in if they want to then mentor for that program. We tell them that they're here to support our instructors. They are not instructors. They don't teach ICOR. They don't go against our instructors. I'm looking at Shannon. Because we have some mentors that say, no, I know better. And we're like, no, you don't. And so we tell them exactly what's happening in the program at what time, and then we tell them, you support this instruction and this instructor. If you don't check in with what they're supporting, you may find them teaching against what you are going over. Responsibilities. They have to interpret entrepreneurship, and in our case, social innovation and design thinking, depending on what we engage them for. They embrace and uphold confidentiality. These are real ideas that will have IP strategy implications. No, you can't talk about it with your buddy. Now, something people always ask me, I'll go ahead and tell you. Sometimes these mentors want to invest or want to be a part of this idea. And that's okay, because that actually works out really well for you as the institution. So we tell them they must go through a quiet period. They must disengage from the mentee. We tell them they must have a 2 to 4 week quiet period in which I know they've disengaged. They have alerted me that they want to disengage for this reason. We put them through a quiet period, and then they can resurface on their own with no interaction with the university and re-engage. And then they must write home about it, they must make it super successful, and then they delete that. Right? They must be purposefully direct, which we know about, and then make them cross-promoters of your program and tell them to go ape wild on social media. It's free marketing. Use it. So, radical candor, in case anybody wants a graphical representation, this is where it lives. Personal care and direct challenge. It does not live in obnoxious aggression, it does not live in manipulative insincerity, and it does not live in ruinous empathy. And if you need an example of ruinous empathy, it's like, oh, it's okay, I'll just do it for you. Manipulative insincerity, if you need an example, that is, your presentation was really good, but we just need to tweak these 2 things. But no, it was really good. It was really good. And the pitch was awful. Obnoxious aggression, I don't have to do that for you. I think you know what that is. Key mentor activity. This is what they need to do all the time, every time. Specific actionable advice. You didn't like the pitch because you couldn't understand it? Say that. How might we make this pitch easier to understand? Guide them to think past the idea and onto implementation and next steps. This idea solves this problem. How well or how could it be improved? How might you implement? We use the lean business model. How are they thinking about the whole model? Keep them moving to the next step. And if there's a pivot in their future, talk about it now. Don't surprise them with it too far down the road. Guide them to iterate and pivot as many times as necessary. Change can either cripple them or empower them. Help them be empowered. This is what we tell our mentors. And ensure that all decisions are rooted in evidence from customer or community discovery, not because we don't like it as mentors, or we don't like it as program instructors, right? Has nothing to do with us. It has to do with discovery. So, the other thing that's really important is you've got to create perks. right? Mentors are humans. These are some of the perks that we create. And yes, sometimes it's as easy as we have these little gold pins that say mentor, and it's really flashy. They will show up here on campus with their pins. They'll show up on Zoom with their pins. They're like, look, I'm a mentor. They love it. They have their t-shirts. We give them office space. We feature them. We put them in our annual report. We do a lot of things. You know what? They're the only people on Vanderbilt campus that get free parking. Okay? That's huge. Employees don't get free parking. But what it does is it gives them this feeling that they are special, because they are, in fact, donating time, energy, and talent. Make them feel special. They will fall in love with these problems with you, and they will do anything it takes to move these people forward. So make sure you created a perk program that they feel good about and that they will tell people about. And when you see their social media posts, when you see what they do for your program, it's invaluable. When we hit 200 mentors, that mentor did like this cool social media campaign. What's interesting is we had nothing to do with it, and he actually asked permission. He said, I'm so excited to be the 200th mentor. Can I do like this splashy thing? And we were like, yeah. We loved it. He liked this whole graphic thing, and he was like, I was the 200th mentor, and like, it was really, really exciting. So let them do their thing. The next thing that is really important is catalyze that network, right? On your website. We just did a huge new website improvement, and is Lauren still here? Lauren's not here. When you see her, talk to her. So one of the things I like to do, if we have a little bit of time, I think we do, with my mouse. So I wanted to show you really quick what the website looks like now. Can I get this to show on there? Let's try some. How do I get this to show? Okay, so what we did is we created a website where we make things searchable. One thing that I forgot to mention, in case you ask, is no, the public does not get to reach a mentor or interact with a mentor without that interaction being curated by my office. No putting mentor private information on your website ever. If you don't protect their private information, if you don't protect access to them, you will drown them out quickly and they will leave. You don't want to do that. You have to curate those interactions yourself. You have to protect them. But what you can do is showcase them. So we have a couple of ways to showcase them. You can actually go to our website and select different areas of our practice. One of the best things we did was view mentors by category. So there's the categories. Somebody shout out a category you see there. Agriculture. So if you pick agriculture, this is the one mentor that comes up. Right? Now, the reason for that is the mentors actually get to self-select their categories. So we are not forcing people to be in agriculture. Taya actually doesn't live in the United States, and she's very into agriculture and sustainability. And so what we do then is let them self-select their categories. We've built the categories so that you can select by that. It doesn't mean that Taya is only in agriculture. She happens to be in several categories. But what it does is it explains the mentor network. It allows people to see the mentors in action. But also what it does is if you want to interact with the mentor, you can hit find a mentor. What's great is we've seen people from your universities use our page. And they fill out the find a mentor. They tell us, they fill out the whole form, they tell us what they're doing, they tell us what they need, and then we curate who might be the ideal mentor. Now, one thing that we've done for ICOR, you can go back to your presentation, have them go back to the presentation. Go here. All right, we'll do that. One thing that we have seen for ICOR is that even with 204 mentors, we are not yet at the capacity to help all of you with mentorship. So we have engaged with VMT, and some of you have been using them because they have another set of mentors. We're trying to get to that point where all of you can stand up your own mentorship network, and so that you can use that kind of mentorship program for each of your needs. With VMT, they're trying to do the same thing. Their program is a little bit different because those folks are trained. That's part of a different setup, and they do team mentoring, and then one of the team members is selected as the industry mentor, but they work a little bit differently. So they're a little bit of an ancillary program that we tacked on to help you match for industry mentors, but very similar in terms of they know our process, they know ICOR, and so we can select what happens. There we go. The other thing is we created a group just for our mentors. It's a LinkedIn private group just for our mentors. So we can put up needs, we can put up requests, and more importantly, so that they can all reach each other. And they really like having this group of really meeting each other. Like I said, the closest mentor in proximity geographically lives 2 blocks off campus. The furthest mentor, she lives in Singapore. So this gives them their own avenue, their own little conversation piece. We also encourage all of our mentors to reshare program highlights, reshare iCore activities, reshare everything that they have. And then we encourage our mentees and mentors to reshare each other's connections and engagements after they've had these mentor-mentee engagements. So we're catalyzing the network of how many people know about iCore, how many people know about going through the program, and then the successes of these ventures that have gotten funding, that have gone on to be teams, that have gone on to do more with their iCore experience, like Dina's Couture Technologies, that is now a fully functioning, unbelievable company that's even like acquired her own fashion line, Freedom Company, that's plug, or Optimar, Mark's company, right? Like, how do we keep going on to catalyze so that people can see what your individual programs are doing and what are the further successes that are happening afterwards? So, one of the things we teach them as well is how do you create your LinkedIn profile as a venture and as venture leaders to continue that process of connecting. And one of the things we always teach them is find your QR code on LinkedIn, please. And all of you need to find your QR code on LinkedIn because business cards might get in the past, I'm not sure. We have them, but use them. Okay, having said that, who's got questions?
Okay, so I've got one.
Wait, just one here, come on.
I'm Danielle as a mentor, not being rude back here. I am serving as a mentor in the national cohort right now. Question though about BMT specifically and the way that works. We just had our first interaction with them at U of L, and I know there's non-disclosure agreements that kind of cover the entire hub. But you mentioned background checks. Is that part of that as well? Like, can you talk a little bit more about what we as hub members should expect from BMT while we are trying to build out to have as large of a cohort of our own mentors as we have?
Yes, we vetted BMT. We talked to the founders and all of the directors. They have a system where theirs is a little bit different in that they certify their mentors. So we looked at all their documents, and in our contract with them, because we do have a contract with them, all of their vetting matches all of our vetting, and that includes a background check. So we did not enter into agreement with them until they could match all of our vetting, our background checks, our confidentiality, and all of the agreements. So we have reciprocity with them. Dina?
Yes. So,
Wait, Chelsea wants to run and give you the microphone.
did you have one?
So, Yesenia, one of the things, when you came on, we had a mentorship program, but that needed some changes, right, to really meet the needs of where we were heading. So I thought maybe if you would talk a minute about if you have some legacy mentors, but you're trying to move that forward and reshape the program, a little bit about the work that you did there.
Yes, so when you go to reshape your program, you may have mentors that you can drop. You may have mentors that will no longer fit your new vision. And so what you need to do is you need to rebuild what your program is going to be, and you invite them to be a part of this new vision, or you invite them to become emeritus. And so what you do is you re-onboard everyone. You invite them to be a part of the new process. You tell everyone, this is the new process. You have to fill out an application. You have to pass the background check. You have to be re-onboarded. You basically start from scratch, and you invite those folks to re-engage. If they refuse to re-engage, then you tell them, we're going to list you as emeritus. We appreciate all of your efforts and all of your hard work. We're so grateful for everything that you've done in the past. and then you remove them from all contact and you put them into your retired folder and you archive them. If they're willing to go through the entire process as if they were new, then that says that they want to be engaged and they want to be recommitted. But you've got to do that. You have to follow the protocol. Don't let them get grandfathered or grandmothered in. That will create chaos.
I have a question. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
This was more of a thought about, because we think all the time about how to strengthen the hub, how to work together more. You know, a lot of what you were talking about, this was great, by the way, loved it. A lot of what you were talking about, particularly in the beginning, with the onboarding, with the NDAs, with the, with the other details, those already exist in a system created for mentorship, which is the SBDC. The flaw, and a lot of us run SBDCs, we run Virginia's SBDC. The flaw in the SBDC is that it was only created for traditional types of and Main Street types of businesses, and the only places where a tech element or tech mentors exist in the SBDC system are where the states fund them. So it's kind of all over the place, it's a little bit erratic. It's a flaw in the SBDC system, I think, and I tell them that every time I see them. That they need to think more about if all of these agencies want to see more tech, you need to have a system attached to it. You've got your reporting and tracking system built in, you've got your NDAs and your legal documents already built in, and a lot of that, I think there's some nice add-ons in particular that you brought up here that could kind of round that out. But it might be an opportunity for us as a hub to go to the SBA and say, like, hey, wouldn't it be great if you guys had something like this where we could use it across the board?
Yeah, so what we did is our application is actually a University of Vanderbilt, or Vanderbilt University volunteer application form. And you can't be on campus or interact with anybody affiliated with our campus unless you sign on the dotted line for all of this. And so what it does, it's an umbrella that covers any interaction with anybody affiliated with this campus. So it's an umbrella that that covers all of that interaction. So it will cover all of that interaction. So it's almost like belt and suspenders. Whatever you sign with that is one thing, but this holds up with the whole university. And so it's almost like, literally like the umbrella over that relationship. So you can sign all those documents, but you can't interact with us unless you sign this document. And so that's what we've done, is we've created a secondary document that they sign, and that's secondary. Now, you may have mentors that are faculty. They already have that background check, and they've already signed that confidentiality as part of their hiring documents. So we do a waiver of the application and the background check because you are faculty, but then we clear with the HR department that you are employed as faculty and that you are actively faculty members and you have an active account, and we need to see your active email account, and we have to see your active ID. Because then you've signed it as an employee.
Paul, if you have any ideas on how the networking or the SBA, because it'd be interesting to hear about that.
Yeah.
So for us, the SBA is even over the university requirements because we're with federal requirements and the way the SBDC, so I have about 100 SBDC counselors, only about 40 of them are Mason employees, the rest are employees of other entities. Mm-hmm. So we have to deal with that, outside employee all the time. Mm-hmm. And we also don't have like the on-campus, off-campus thing because of COVID. Now, like almost everything is done virtually. About 90% of our counseling is done virtually.
Yeah, our mentors are not required to do anything on campus. But we, the way our form is written by Vanderbilt, you can be a mentor and never touch campus. But any interaction that you have with anyone affiliated with the university is considered on campus. So we've written it in such a way that if you are doing anything with anyone affiliated with Vanderbilt University, it's covered. And I actually sat with the general counsel of the university to make sure those words would umbrella anybody interacting with the university. And so that's how we did it. But you can have multiple layers. Also, the program is called the Mentorship Program of the Wond'ry at Vanderbilt University. So we pulled them into a program that belongs to the Wond'ry and belongs to Vanderbilt University so that it belongs to us, and therefore our general counsel has rule over it. So our Title IX has rule over it. works over it. Our policies and procedures rule over it. So any infraction of any of our policies and procedures take precedence over everything else, including any confidentiality agreement that belongs to policies and procedures on campus, like divulging IP, that belongs to the university or otherwise.
A little more freedom with private.
Yep.
So we have entrepreneurs in residence that we use to provide some mentorship, but it sounds like you're advising that we have experts in myriad fields who can provide advice and guidance on things. Is that correct?
Yes. You can never, you know how many entrepreneurships in residence you would need to have to cover every potential need that a team needs? Because a lot of times people think you need one mentor for a team to take them through their whole continuum of needs. That's kind of impossible. Because some days they'll need something that's financial related, sometimes it's fundraising related, sometimes it's how to build a sales funnel, sometimes it's building out, just their HR strategy, sometimes it's IP strategy, sometimes it's getting an underrepresented minority or underrepresented innovator past some creative confidence issues. And so if you have a very diverse portfolio of mentors, you can bring them in for a one-shot consultation. So that consultant coach area that I talked about, to do 1 or 2 sessions to get them past that particular hump, and that does not affect maybe the entrepreneur in residence that's coaching them along sort of long vision, but you have these experts that you can bring in, like this Delta team of experts that can come in and talk about a graphic representation, or they can come in and help with a particular thing about their business that will help in that instance. Because we see teams over the lifeline of their business need different things. Like, what is going to be their strategy for building the position out for who their CFO is going to be? Because we know that in most cases, the entrepreneur is going to have to let go of parts of their business. They cannot wear all the hats. So their first 5 hires are the most important hires that they're going to make for longevity and survival, right? Who is going to run, if it's an IT business, who is going to be that chief technical officer? Who is going to be the chief financial officer? Who is going to be marketing? Most ventures forget that marketing is a critical component of their business, and most of our entrepreneurs are not marketing folks. I know Mark laughing. So bring those experts in when you need them, as you need them, and then move them out as you don't need them anymore. Last question, or how are we doing time?
I have a question. So my question is regarding embodied radical candor. So I'd like to learn more about what are your thoughts around that, and if you face some resistance with that mentor-mentee relationship, how to overcome that, and what do the challenges look like? Especially when you're working with a population that's underserved minorities. What is that framework?
Well, a lot of it comes down to that vetting interview. I can tell you honestly, the only problems I have were with my leftover mentorship group. That's why I didn't ask that question. With new folks, so the nonverbals when you interview a potential mentor will tell you a lot when you explain that. When you start talking about radical candor and you explain it, if the potential mentor leans in and goes, oh my gosh, yes, they get really excited about it, and they find that they've been practicing it, but they didn't know it had a title, that tells you it's going to be okay. When you have the reserved, leaning back, crossing of the arms, sometimes you have to give them brutal honesty. In my head, red flags go up and says, they're not mentored. Brutal honesty is nothing but brutal, and there's no time for that. And so that's when I tend to push people into other ways to support us. Like, maybe you're really an advocate, or maybe you just come in and do some judging every now and then, but you're not a mentor. Nobody needs brutal anything, right? The world is already tough enough. And so it comes about when you vet someone. Because I don't want to put an underserved, underrepresented entrepreneur in front of anybody that uses adjectives like brutal. That's not what we do here. It's about inclusive innovation. And so it's my job on the front end to weed those candidates out and to make sure that I'm bringing people on regardless of their industry, regardless of their experience, regardless of their gender, regardless of their identity, and regardless of where they come from or their ethnicity or whatever, that they understand radical candor, even if they never knew it as a term, but that's what they practice. And I also make sure that I understand this is what they've done in a career and this is what they're passionate about as an individual. There's so much you can find out about a person when you ask both those questions. You'd be surprised at how many people don't know the term but practice it. And that's what we bring on.